Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Paranormal Podcast. It's another Tuesday, and these Tuesdays are rolling quicker and quicker, but that's always good because we always have great podcasts. And
Time keeps on slipping.
oh, no, you didn't. No, you. Oh. It's Tuesday, folks. Please get out and subscribe to the Beyond the Paranormal Podcast YouTube link. It's very simple. Just click subscribe. That's it. If you don't want to listen to us or whatever, just click it and go on. That's all I ask.
Right. We just want the lovin's. We just want the lovin's.
I'll give you a high five. I'll eat a bologna sandwich with you. I don't care. And subscribe to our Facebook page too. That'll help us out tremendously. RhiAnna is out tonight. She's not feeling well. But as always, Creedy Creep Show is with me.
That's right. Hello, creeps.
Yes, ma'am. And also, we have an awesome guest that's on the podcast with us tonight, Miss Tonya Webb. She's the co-owner and manager of the Old Hospital on College Hill in Williamson, West Virginia, a.k.a. Old Williamson Memorial Hospital. And every time that I was telling somebody that she was going to be on the show, I kept thinking House on Haunted Hill. Every time I could not save this right.
A lot of people don't. It's okay.
Never. I was like, I will get you straightened out before the show comes on. Trust me. So how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me on, even though it is kind of a crazy Tuesday.
Trust me, if it's not a crazy Tuesday when we do this podcast, it's not a good podcast.
No, that's true.
Or if it hasn't been a crazy Tuesday yet, it will become one once you hit our podcast.
Mm-hmm. That is.
Well, that makes it fun and interesting, though.
So let's talk about a little bit of history of this phenomenal location, beautiful location, actually. Williamson Memorial Hospital was established in Williamson, West Virginia, of course, in 1918, followed by a nursing school in 1920 on on a hilltop site that was later nicknamed College Hill after the academy. At the time, how big was this for the Williamson area?
Well, I'm sure back in the day it was huge. Now, the original one that was built in downtown, the one that I think you said in 1918, that one was a facility that was in the main downtown, and that one actually burnt. Yep. The one that I own didn't come along until 1928. But the Nurses College, what you was referring to, it was built in the 20s as well. And, it was a huge measurement for our city because it was one of the first nurses colleges in the state of West Virginia. I think I read somewhere in a newspaper that it was around the fourth or fifth one constructed. And that was a big deal for our area because the nurses would it was like a college dorm. They would come there, train there, live there, learn there. So, and then when the hospital opened in 28, they would go over to the hospital and work and train. So it's a pretty amazing structure. And if you have a picture of the hospital, the Nurses College is the cream color building that sits. It's the first one that you actually see when you come up on College Hill. We go up through Mulberry because College Hill is a kind of a tiny road. Back in the days, I guess it was good, okay to travel it, but in today's times it's not. So we give another address for it. But that's why they named it College Hill, was because of the Nurses College. But unfortunately, it wasn't taken very good care of through the years. After people started, not using it anymore, the roof collapsed on it. So half of it did, some of it's still there. So we're trying to be able to get enough money and raise enough money to restore it, because I think it's a beautiful building. It's got a lot of stories to tell, a lot of history. People have caught some really awesome images in those windows as well. So, and then some of the morgue is also located in that building. So, I'm excited to get it restored, and hopefully we can get that project started soon.
And I'm sure for the ones who already know this, but I know there's a lot, Tonya, that doesn't know this, that location actually caught fire. That was a massive fire for that location. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't like one of the nurses have just a newborn and they threw it out the window? Is that correct? Am I wrong on this? Is that actually correct?
You're talking about the one downtown? I had read that, yes. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it was a massive fire back in the days. It destroyed everybody, and they were trying to get out. And I did read that somewhere where she had thrown a mother had just given birth. Mm-hmm. And she was trying to get out and threw the baby out the window.
The baby survived.
Yes, the baby survived.
Okay. I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, y'all, you're giving me downers. I'm like,
no, they both survived, but they tried to get out before the fire got them.
Oh, wow.
Turn that frown upside down, sis.
I mean, I guess if you got to choose either burn to death or fly out a window, I'm going to choose fly out a window.
Yeah.
I have better chances if I'm jumping out a window than if I'm getting cooked like a roasted wiener inside of a big fire. So
I don't know, man. I'm a big guy. I'll splatter if I hit the ground. So I mean, I don't know what I want to do.
that's for another night.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
That's for our What If podcast.
Right.
No. So let's talk about this a little bit in depth, because I know I watch a lot of videos on this place, and I want to talk about Franco's apparition that he caught. Did you also see this, Tonya? Did he show you this?
Yeah, it's been a while, but yes, he every time he would capture something, he'd let us know. So it was a pretty wild night when he was there.
That apparition in that window, I mean, I have no explanation for it. I mean, it's a perfect figure of somebody in the building up on the main top floor. I mean, they're there. I do not know what else to say. I mean, I know nobody was else in there possibly, but I mean, that's insane what he caught.
Yeah, he usually does it by himself. He's a great guy. I think he's been to the hospital twice now, and he's very animated, very friendly, but takes it very serious. And he's very thorough. He goes through everything and not afraid of any of it, and he will put himself right out there. So he did, and we get a lot of that. Even people that drive by the main road will stop and take pictures of the hospital, hoping to catch images in the window, and as well as the nurses' college. And some are lucky enough to get them. You just never know when they're going to appear. I always encourage everybody to take at least 2 to 3 pictures, if not more, because
Sure.
it might not show up in the first one or second one, but you could capture something in the third or fourth one. So
Yeah, it's like I've always said, man, paranormal is not like a light switch. You can't turn it off and on.
right,
It's going to be there when it wants to be there.
right, you just never know.
Yeah, Crit, you can step in here. Just
Well, yeah, like I grew up in a haunted house,
Yeah.
so at least 2 years of it when we relocated to Kentucky. So I definitely know, like, you can't turn it on and off. And then also, like, we're in Kentucky, we're in West Virginia. These ghosts are going to be ornery as heck. If you
Right.
can't tell them what to do in life, you sure as heck ain't going to tell them what to do when they've passed on. So.
Right. That's it. And with our history of the hospital, in West Virginia, just like she was saying, it was you had a whole bunch of feuding and fighting, and our county was, if you Google Mingo County, it's called Bloody Mingo. So we got a nickname for a reason. So it was pretty rough back. The history along the county is very fascinating, and then the hospital came along, and it has some stories as well. But yeah, they can be stubborn. So you just never know when they're going to appear. Or if they're going to be mad when they do appear.
I've said this before, and I think that we live in one of the most iconic areas ever, in my opinion, for history.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I know things happen out west with the Western stuff, cowboys, and all that stuff. But as far as like Civil War, as far as like Hatfield McCoys, all this stuff, our area is so real rich and iconic with this stuff. It blows my mind, to go back and find all this stuff.
Right.
And when you think about too, like a lot of folks come from Ireland, Scotland, places like that were impoverished, that moved into the areas and had to be really strong and obstinate in order to make a living, in order to get the nerve up to go into a hole in the ground and dig up some rocks to feed your family. I mean, like, that takes a certain strong kind of person to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
And I feel like the energy that makes us who we are, that doesn't just go away when we die. So I don't think it's shocking at all that a lot of folks, especially back home, hang around after, they check out.
Yeah. All right, Miss Tonya, what got you interested in this hospital? What made you want to dive in to say, I want to take this on, or let's try it. Let's try it.
Well, a lot of people thought I was crazy for doing it, including my own mom. So, it kind of goes with the territory. But just a little background information on it. I was actually born in that hospital. So, and then I lost 2 grandparents that I never met there as well. So I had the emotional connection, but I've always been fascinated with both buildings. If you've seen a picture of it, where it's located in our town, it kind of overlooks the city of Williamson. So it's almost like it's a protector, if that makes sense at all. But and the buildings are just, to be built in the 20s, they're just amazing. I mean, they're great structures, very photogenic. They're kind of creepy looking, but they're very photogenic. And I've always been drawn to them. I've been, I tried to work. The hospital was handed down through different owners throughout the years. And I went away for college for a little while, and then I moved back to the area. And when I came back, I tried to get in contact with several of the owners just to try to do things at the hospital, because I was so fascinated with it and I had such a draw to it. But nobody ever really would let me do it up until about 2 years ago. And the owners at the time let us do some things like tours and stuff like that. And then, long story short, there was a newer hospital. My hospital closed in '88 as a real hospital, but it stayed open for clinics and things like that until 2014. But in '88, there was a newer Williamson Memorial Hospital that was built just up on the hill away from mine. So when they did that, like I said, they kept mine open for doctors' clinics, doctors' offices, pediatrics, things like that. But then when COVID hit, it really took a toll on our area and our little rural hospital, and it shut down. And when it did, the courts came along and said, we're going to sever the ties from the new Williamson Memorial Hospital to the old hospital. And they didn't make it part of that one. So a local doctor purchased the newer one, and then me and my business partner stepped in and took the hospital and the nurses' college. So it was just really more of, wanting to save a little bit of my history. My partner, Charlie, was also born there as well. So it's part of his history. And then it serviced so much for our town and our county. It was the biggest hospital. And you got to remember where we're located. We're right on the border of Kentucky. So not only did we have patients from West Virginia, but we also had patients from Kentucky and also Virginia as well. In our area, Mingo County, and especially Williamson, has one of the biggest railroad yards, in the nation. And then also we had a bunch of coal miners, so they were coming from all over, and it was a big hospital for a very long time. It was one of the top notch. When that one burnt in, the 1918 or whenever it was, Dr. Salton and Dr. Conley, who were the two founding doctors of it, they said, we got to build a bigger one and a better one. And they did. It was built in 1928. And back then it cost $175,000 to build that hospital. And to me, that's pretty fascinating, because that's a lot of money in today's times.
Yeah.
So imagine how hard that was back in the 1920s to come up with that much money.
Yeah.
So all of that and the history itself and just being drawn to the building just really made me want to save it. And I just, I almost didn't do it. And then I was so afraid that somebody would come in and try and buy it and just knock it down and make it a parking lot and lose all that history. I'm real big on preserving buildings if we can, because it's so much, it's history. It's a part of who we are, and it's a part of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody would purchase it just as a tax write-off and just let it rot and do nothing with it. So I've never owned a business. This is my first time ever doing anything like this. So I threw my name out there, and it happened, and I ended up with it, and I'm really thankful, because it's opened up new doors for me. And I feel really attached to it. I know that might sound really silly, and you'll hear me refer to the hospital as her, because we have that kind of bond. But I just wanted to try to save her, if that makes any sense at all.
Oh, yeah.
If that sounds crazy.
No.
I absolutely love that. Like,
Yeah.
have that kind of attachment, and like, I don't feel like there's enough nostalgia or people like respecting, especially in the rural areas, like how much those kind of locations mean. Like, that's the lifeblood of a community, is a hospital.
Right.
And for you guys to step in and save it, I think that's really amazing.
Well, with hospitals, there's so much history there anyway. And you have, lives started there, lives ended there. A lot of people were saved there. So many miraculous things happen, and so many stories that we're still, trying to figure out and uncover. I couldn't imagine someone just, coming in and just knocking it down and just saying, well, forget this, let's build a parking lot or whatever. And that just, and I see that happen in other states and other areas. And it just breaks my heart, because I'm just like, those buildings at one time were a massive part of the community and played such a role, and they just kind of seem forgotten now. And I just, I didn't want that to happen here with this hospital. I can't save them all. I wish I could, But even if I couldn't do anything but historical tours, I love it. I would, because I believe in it that much. And I think everybody should, learn a little bit from your past, because you know how small rural communities are. If you wasn't born there, your grandma or grandma's grandma was born there. So, but I can't tell you how many people reached out to me after the purchase went through, telling me stories and sharing stories with me about, being born there and having family being born there and stuff like that. So it was pretty wild, and I appreciated it, because it's nice to hear those kind of things.
You're right. That's the first question they ask is, who's your family? Who you kin to? Who
Yeah.
you kin
I may
to?
not know you, but I know your mom. Who's your mom?
Right.
I get that all the time.
But at the end of the day, when you look back, how excited does it make you feel like, hey, that's mine? I finally got it.
Oh, I love it. I ended up, when I purchased it, I really didn't know what I was getting into, but I was excited. And I really thought, well, I'll do this, because I had a full-time job at the time. I worked for the state of West Virginia and had for 23 years. And I thought, well, I'll do this on the side. I'll do it on the weekends, and it'll be a part-time job. And then the part-time job went from 2 days a week to 3 days a week to 4 days a week and 5 days a week. And I was loving it. And I was getting to meet people from all over the world.
Mhm.
And I'm very much a people person. I love that. And I love bringing them into my communities, because, my little area, and you guys know, you understand, Williamson was hit really hard. When the coal mining business shut down, we lost a lot of jobs. A lot of people left. A lot of hope was gone. And there were some people that were really sad and just didn't feel like we could ever make a comeback. And I'm one of those ones that I don't like to give up. I like to think out of the box. And I just felt like, this might be something different, might be able to bring some tourists into the, area, and maybe go along and help the community somewhat. And then I just decided it was doing, for, like I said, we've only been open for a year, but I was staying so busy. I just felt like if I could devote my full attention to it and really do it right, I could make it special for a lot of people, because there were some I couldn't even get in because I was running out of weekends.
Oh, wow.
So I made the decision last November to just go ahead and quit my job with the state for 23 years and do it full time.
That's incredible.
So
That is awesome.
I just, I really love the hospital, but I'm also excited about trying to get the nurses college, because that building is also really special too. There's something about both of them that is just really unique. And I know you guys probably hear it in other places. I mean, every place has their own story and their uniqueness, but
Yeah.
these two buildings are they're the kind of their own little, I call it my own little haunted hill there for a little while, because they sit up there together, and it's just pretty wild.
So what kind of feeling do you get, like, when you see I know you're happy to be there, but like at night, is it like a different vibe, like when you're going to visit? Like, does it change?
Yeah.
Are there ever moments when you're like, I don't really want to go in there right now?
I've been in there a lot by myself, and I'll be honest with you, it depends. There, for me personally, and it may be different from somebody else. Every floor I go on brings about a different emotion, and I'm not sure why, because we're still learning and doing all the research about what, because over a period of time it all changed. What was in the basement in the 20s and 30s wasn't there in the 40s. It all switched places and stuff, except for a couple of rooms. But like, there's just times when I walk in and you can feel like a really heavy just sadness, because you knew people died here and they're just kind of lost and just want somebody to talk to. And then there are days I'll go in there, and like on the third floor, it'll be bright and sunny, and I feel fine. And I feel like the kids are just really wanting to play and just happy to see it again and stuff. Because the third floor was maternity. That's the floor that I was actually born on. But it just brings about just different realms of emotions.
Okay. Did you think the location was haunted or had paranormal activity? And how did you discover that the location had paranormal activity? Did it catch you off guard one day?
I had heard pretty much throughout my whole life that it was haunted. Most of your locals around here can tell you, you'll have some that will say that it's not, but a lot of them have stories that they will share with you. there were several that I heard growing up, especially about, things at night. Janitors that would refuse to work after a certain amount of time because they would see things or hear things that they couldn't explain. They said they had a hard time keeping custodians and janitors because they just didn't want to be in the building. And you'd hear stories like that throughout your childhood. Of course, when you're young, you don't really think that much about it. It just fascinated you because I've always been, ever since I was probably 4 or 5, I've always been attracted to the scary movies, the horror side of things. Paranormal, I wasn't so much in. I mean, I knew about it and I watched it and learned, but I wouldn't say fully, sold on it, if that makes sense. Until I purchased this building, and then I was like, okay, so that's what that is. But when you hear about it, and even those that are skeptical, until it happens to you, or something's work that doesn't make sense and you can't explain it, then you're like, oh, okay, it does exist, it does happen, it is real. So I was one of those. I had to learn the hard way, but
it's like I've always said, man, once you have your first paranormal experience, it catches you off guard and it makes you go, oh, what was that?
Yeah.
And either you're terrified like I was, or you're drawn into it even more, which I also was. So I'm kind of like a mix. And I feel like a lot of us who are interested in the paranormal are the same way. Yeah. On one hand, we're like fascinated. This is amazing. And then on the other hand, it's like, oh, but please don't let this be something terrible that follows me home and keeps me up all night,
Yeah. I never, going in the hospital and stuff, I never really thought about that. Anybody following me home. I was always more who's in here and who wants to talk to me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, it started out for me really small things. I think they were trying to figure out who I was. It would be something as simple as me going and shutting a door and then walking down the hallway and it would open back up. They'd play games with me for a little while. That's awesome. Then like lights flickering on and off in different parts of the building that didn't have power. It started with that. And then it escalated to voices. There were several times I would hear little kids. The one that probably kind of creeped me the most was on the second floor. It was a male's voice. I could have swore to you that there was a man standing right beside of me. And I was just walking the floors. There had been a paranormal group that had stayed the night before and they had left, and I was clearing the building and making sure everything was okay. And I was walking by a room, and it was the second floor is mostly patient admissions room. So if you got admitted to the hospital, that's the floor you usually went on. And I walked by the door, and this male's voice, as clear as day, just went, "Hey." And here I'm thinking it's the group from the night before because they had 2 men in their group. So I'm like texting them going, "Hey, are you all still in the building?"
Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. I'm like, "Where are you at? Or are you playing with me? Are you messing with me?" And then like just a few minutes later, they said, "No, we left about an hour ago, but we forgot to tell you as we were packing up our stuff, we caught a man's voice on the second floor, but they didn't have their equipment out and stuff." And I was like, "Well, you could have warned me." You could have on my arms, just started standing up. But he wasn't threatening her anyway. I don't know if he thought I was a nurse or if he thought I was a patient. I'm not sure. But I think he just wanted to talk. But I went everywhere looking for somebody, and I couldn't find him. So that was wake up call number 5, I think, for me. But just little things on and off. That's been really, it kind of makes you put things in perspective and and helps you keep an open mind about things.
Guys, we're going to announce it right here. We're going to do a live podcast from the old hospital. We're going to do it. We're going to do it soon. And I'm going to dress up like a doctor.
That'd be awesome.
I am not.
Critina,
I'm going to get my salt. I'm going to be decked out. Like, if you're listening, honey, you said you're going to bless me, so you got to do that, okay? Like, I'm not going into any of these places unless you do that.
I swear, I can't put a camera on me and walk around and go, "Hey, Critina, you see what I'm seeing?" I can't walk around and do that.
I'll be ground control.
No.
Ground control to Major Tom.
You can sit at base. We'll put you a little chair there and you can put base.
Okay. We got a comment over here that says from Urban Verse that says, "Can't wait to make it over there and do some photography."
That's Robert. That's my bro. me and him, man, we started into paranormal we did this for 6 or 7 years, and it's been a long time since we've done it. I backed out for numerous reasons. Had my own paranormal experience I brought home that I never want to experience again. So I'm right there with Critina, and I won't protect it.
Yeah.
And I won't go, and I'll say this right now, I won't go into any location that I feel like, something's going to come home with me. But I can't guarantee that it's not going to happen. But Tonya, just as well as I do, when to back off and say, I'm not going in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So,
there's been plenty of times, certain rooms, certain areas. The basement for me is probably the darkest one out of all of them. Sometimes I can go down there and be okay, and then other times I'm down there and I'm like, nope, I can't stay here. It's too
yeah.
heavy today. Not too long ago, I had some people there and they were interviewing me, and I've done a few interviews over the past year, and I've done several in the basement, and I've never had a problem with it. But for some reason, I don't know, I can't explain it, but he started asking me questions, and I just start crying for no reason at all. I just start bawling, and it was like this just heavy feeling. And he was like, "Oh, you're okay? Do you need to take a break?" And I'm like, "I really don't know. I can't tell you why." And then we just started talking about because the basement, it serves so many different things over a long period of time. When the hospital first opened up, it's where all your trauma came in. It was your ER, it was your morgue, it was your surgical rooms. The incinerator is down there. Then when the hospital closed in '88, they put it down. They put the children down there, so it became a pediatric floor. So there were children that were there, just and some of that stuff is still down there. And I guess all of it started weighing on me a lot. And then my mom told me that she thought one of my grandparents passed away down there too. So I don't know if it just hit me while I was down there, but I couldn't control it. But as soon as I got back upstairs on the first floor, I was fine. I mean, it was crazy.
I think that this place and you have a bond already. I think that they know that you're there for the right reasons. Because if you wasn't, trust me, that you'd be known for sure. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to stay in there. So I think that they realize that you're there for the right reasons.
Yeah, I would never want, when I first purchased the building, some of the local community, I got a little bit of backlash for it. They thought they didn't understand it. They didn't like what I was doing. They kind of thought I was being disrespectful. And I get it. I'm in the middle of the Bible Belt. And if you don't understand this field a whole lot, I understand why they feel that way.
Yeah.
So I would just, tell each of them, I just have to respectfully disagree with you, because I think you do more damage and more disrespect if you just let a building go and let their memories go, or get knocked down and it turned into a parking lot. At least I'm trying to preserve them and, keep what little memories are still there alive, because, I've had a lot of people reach out to me just wanting to come back into the place where they were born. They just want to kind of check it out and see, because it may, or they were there as kids and got treated there, or that maybe one of their parents passed away there. So I get that a lot. But that was just for a few months. Now that they see that we're being respectful and it's not about demons and all this kind of stuff, the community has been a lot more supportive. And especially since they've seen how it's helped the economy and brought a lot of people in, and really, it's kind of next to our Hatfield McCoy Trail system. It's probably the second biggest tourist attraction we have right now. So, but I agree with you. I think I do have a bond with the building. She's pretty special to me, and I would, I hope I could keep her running. When I gone into this, I really didn't know what I was doing or how long I could keep it going. But my business partner Charlie, he's really good, and I think both of us together. He's also the mayor of the town, so that helps too, to have that support. But I hope we can keep it going for a long time and have groups that are still interested and want to come and visit her. And she's not disappointed anybody so far that I'm aware of. I mean, is like you said with paranormal, you just never know what you're going to get, or you never know what's going to happen when you're there. But we've had some interesting stories, and it's,
And I tell people, I don't care if I catch anything at all. I don't care if I catch any evidence at all whatsoever. It's just the fact of being at that said location and knowing the history behind it.
right.
And able to walk the same floors that these other patients and doctors did. it's a cool feeling. You feel like an honor to be there, honestly.
Yeah.
Plus, she's a beautiful building. Like, if you look
Yeah.
at pictures, if you
It is.
Google images, it's like, who wouldn't want to check a place like this out? Like, it's
Yeah.
absolutely stunning.
Yeah, they build it, and they did it right. To be a 94-year-old building, you would think there'd be like big holes in the walls or in the floors. Now we do have some damage because of vandals that have broken in and just totally just gutted some of the place. But other than that, the structure, the foundation is really good. The hospital, it's 4 floors and a basement, so 5 floors technically. But it's in great shape. They built her really well. They did a great job.
I know you got to get out of here at 9. We'll just ask a couple more questions and we'll go and end this for you. What was your reaction? Well, well, see, I lost all my questions. I knew I'd get into this. I told you it would be a good podcast. Don't give me that Jeopardy theme. Somebody said, you gotta drench me in salt before I come in there, babe. Are people finding new evidence all the time from this location? Are you seeing more and more different evidence that comes to you after paranormal teams leave?
Yeah, it's been pretty wild. We're trying to document as much as we can because most of the paranormal groups that come through stay in contact with me, and they'll because you know how it is. It takes a long time to go through all your stuff and your recordings and all that. So it'll be a few days before I hear back from them. But there have been some like the male's voice, a nurse. There's been some that's been pretty consistent with several groups, different groups. But I can truthfully say that most of my groups that have been through there, all of them had at least one experience that another group did not. So that's pretty amazing to us because it really should be, because it was a hospital. There were so many people in and out of there for so many years. It would be hard to capture the same person over and over again. And that can happen, I'm sure. But there's we enjoy listening to all the stories that they get, and documentation and recordings, and some of the stuff that they capture through the spirit boxes and EVPs and stuff like that. It's just amazing. It's just wild. We had a group in there over the weekend who used a Polaroid camera, one of the old, what I grew up with, the Polaroid.
Yeah.
You should have seen what they captured with that. I can't wait till they start showing. They're not ready to reveal it yet, but oh my gosh, it about blew me away.
Cody Ray. I cannot say that last name.
Hello, Paps. Hey, Cody.
Let's see, Robert says I was immediately drawn to the building the first time I saw it last year during a site survey. If I hadn't been on the clock, I was going to drive up and take a closer look.
I think she kind of sucks you in when you're that close and you see her. I think she just kind of draws you in. But he also had said about doing photography. We do offer photography tours, but our paranormal groups that come in also do. They take a lot of photographs and stuff, and we allow it. We don't. The only thing that we always ask is that they just be respectful and treat the building with respect, and don't show it in a negative light or anything like that. But she's very photogenic. She's creepy, but she's very photogenic.
It's a beautiful building. Even the photos you sent me, I was like, oh man, look at this. This is
some of our paranormal groups. Some of those pictures I sent you, they took those. And you wouldn't think an old 94-year-old hospital would take such great pictures like that, but she really does. We had weddings up there.
I was going to say, I thought I saw some wedding photos on your website. I was like, man, those are beautiful.
We did. We offer where it's located up on that hill. It's absolutely beautiful up there. And we had 20 weddings last year, and it was amazing. And the pictures that came out of them, between the hospital and the nurses' college, everybody's different. They like weddings in different ways, and of course, this is a non-traditional type. And but I can truthfully say that every bride was beautiful, and the weddings, same difference.
We're down for whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I said that because one of the couples that got married, it was the funnest one, but it was a hard one to pull off. They had been married, I think, a couple of times before, so they wanted this wedding to be a little bit more at ease and more fun and more memorable. So the groom came down. They got married in the creepy basement. So the groom came down the aisle in a body bag on a gurney,
Oh
and
my
his wife
gosh.
was dressed all in black. So it did kind of remind me of a funeral, but I swear it was such a blast, and they were beautiful. They took great pictures, and we had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun pulling that off. But we have
They
people
really, really meant till death do us part. They
exactly.
really meant that.
That was the
Hey,
theme the whole weekend when we did them. It was great. But
so
we even have kids driving up there that take prom pictures and stuff. That
oh,
ask
that's
us for prom
awesome.
pictures.
So any of the bands that, follow Bod's Mayhem or on my music one, get up with Tonya, because this place would be an awesome place to do a music video, horror related or anything like that. So I'm sure Tonya will work that out with you. Go and help and support her in this location, because we need to do it for everybody who does this. What do you hope, Tonya, people take away from the location when they come to this, or whether it be historical or paranormal? What do you hope that they take when they leave, especially not a spirit when they go home or anything? What do you hope to get from it?
Well, I hope they have a really good experience with the building and they learn, like you said, a little bit of the history of it, the understanding of where, our town and city came from and who and all went through there. I think it's very fascinating when you read some of the articles. One of the things that we have in the hospital is some old newspaper clippings. There's so many different descents that was in there, so many different doctors from all over the world. One of the doctors was from Egypt. And to find all of that, that came to Williamson, West Virginia to be a doctor at this hospital. It's just amazing. So I hope, just a little bit of history and respect and maybe a few little spooky things that might make them, if they were skeptical at first, maybe be a little bit more open-minded, but just to be open-minded about things and learn a little bit about it.
I bet y'all will get slammed for Hillbilly Days.
I don't know. That's coming up, but not really. I've not had a
Okay.
lot of calls yet, so we'll see.
Well, y'all, if you're in town for Hillbilly Days, then you need to head on over to the old hospital on College Hill.
Yeah.
over
Yeah,
in
we're not that
Williamson.
far.
Do you feel a location can consume you or take over you, or either by researching it or staying at the location more than usual? When
Oh,
when
yeah.
did you when did you feel like, okay, this is needing needing my attention more? It needs me. It's telling me it needs me.
I started getting well, I was always kind of drawn in just because of some of the stories that kind of haunt the
Yeah.
hospital that I'm like, it just fascinates me. I get fascinated with that stuff. But when I started seeing how many people were just as interested as I was and curious to see what was in the building and learn more about it, I knew I probably needed to devote more time to it and really learn more about it to be able to learn all the history because it's hard to go back to 1928 and 1930. Not there's nobody around for that time, so you've got to rely on research and newspaper articles and people, maybe families handed down through generations. So just being able to compile all that together and get a true historical sighting of what really took place there, because one of the questions I get all the time is, are you anything like Trans-Allegheny? Well, yes and no. We're not near as big as Trans-Allegheny, and they're massive and they're awesome. But on a smaller scale, I would have to say yes when it comes to mental health patients, because, back in those days, people didn't have mental health facilities to be able to treat them, and they really didn't know what to do with them. So most of them would be brought to the door and taken on in and put in a room. And some of the practices that were done on those patients were questionable, So, again, we're not anything as big as Trans-Allegheny. We're on a much smaller scale, but still some of the weird practices that they did back in those days, it just kind of makes you wonder, today you wouldn't get by with that, but it's just kind of creepy. To know that. One of the things I think is unique about this hospital, it was a teaching hospital back in, you didn't really hear of those that much back in those days. But in the 20s and 30s, they would let you watch your loved one being operated on. They have an observation room and then a surgery room on the other side of the window. And it was like a two-way window that you could sit there and watch. Now, the nurses were there training, but if it was like your spouse or your grandma or your grandpa, they would allow you to come in and watch it too. You wouldn't be able to do that today.
Mm-mm.
So those kind of things we found very fascinating.
And folks, just because a location isn't massive, don't let the size fool you.
Yeah, she's bigger than she looks in the pictures, but like I said, she's nothing like on. She's nothing as big as Trans Allegheny, but she's pretty good sized hospital. She was a 72 bed facility at one time, and there's 5 floors, so it takes you a good night, 2 nights to really get to be able to go through everything and get your investigation completed. And some come back. We've had some groups come back 3 and 4 times.
Oh wow, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
they keep collecting more evidence, and they just want they want to know more, so they just keep coming back. And we love that, so because it helps
sure.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see paranormal researchers though bringing too much equipment to a location? Because I mean, you could be setting up for hours before you start to investigate, and I'm not like that no more. I just bring my stuff, hit the floor, let's go.
Yeah, there's some that come in. Charlie always jokes because he says they look like they're a CSI unit coming in, ready for, because we always help them carry their stuff up. And some of them, they take it really serious and bring in tons of equipment. And then we have some that just come in with maybe 2 or 3 things. Every team is different, so they've got what they feel like is appropriate and how they do their investigation, and we respect that. So the only thing that we don't allow is any kind of like Ouija board seances and stuff like that, but all the other equipment we've not had any trouble with or anything like that.
Robert said it's not the size that matters, but how it's used. Oh my god.
I agree. Well, I agree with that.
Bad, everybody bad. Do you notice the activity more through the day or kind of even at night as well?
For me, it's been different times all the time. The voice that I was telling you about on the second floor, I heard that at 8:15 in the morning.
Oh,
And that
geez.
startled me because in my mind, I was thinking, that stuff happens at 1, 2, and 3 o'clock in the morning. Why am I hearing it at 8:15? So of course I go back and start analyzing everything in my head. I'm just like, why did I hear that? Who was that? What do they want with me? But I started thinking, hospitals probably were more active during the day. And around that time, your doctors were probably checking in and coming in. Nurses were making the rounds, shift changes and things like that. So it makes sense. But then I've also been there at 1 o'clock in the morning and heard stuff. So I don't think with hospitals, that's the beauty of a hospital. I think they were always kind of active. So you just never really know what you're going to get.
Have you brought anything negative back home with you? Have you brought anything back with you possibly?
Not that I know of anyway. Honestly, I don't think in my experiences there, I would never, I don't think I would declare it as negative. There have been a few that have spooked me, I would say,
Oh, for
but
sure.
for the most part, I mean, I think the ones that I've come in contact with have been just, I think they just want life back in the hospital again. I think they're ready to tell their stories and talk again. And I don't feel, when I leave, I don't feel I have anybody with me. I don't feel that they're mad at me. And nothing like that. So no, I've not felt anything like I brought home anything to anybody.
And this is the coolest thing ever. And I saw this on Franco's YouTube thing because I never imagined this, and I'm glad you guys got this going, Tonya. The original elevator is active still working. That's
Yes,
so awesome.
it's a 94-year-old elevator. I have to give credit that to Charlie because he was the one that got that taken care of for me. But it did work, and then unfortunately some vandals broke in, and you know how vandals are. They like copper and wires and all that kind of stuff and cut a few things. So we did have to try to repair that, and thankfully Charlie was able to get that done. But yes, it is working now. It's been certified. The guy that comes and certifies loves to do it because he says it's one of the oldest elevators in West Virginia, but it runs just as good as some of the newer hospitals that he has. So it's pretty neat. Charlie always says it's like a ride in probably a ride at Kings Island. You just get on and take your chance. But
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
or Cannon
It's like-
Park.
It's like Disney's Tower of Terror, except it's
Yeah,
in the hospital. Yeah.
We have some that won't get on it, but then we have some that are like, "Ooh, I want to get on it." But yes, it does work.
Trust me, if I get on that thing when we come over there and I get stuck, you're gonna hear me from blocks. You will hear this fat man go absolutely crazy.
It was wild when the period of the time that it wasn't working. Some of our paranormal groups that were spending the nights, actually caught it on video. You could hear like the dings of the elevator stopping on the floor, but it wasn't working. So that was pretty wild. So
That's awesome.
I can't explain that. I don't know why, but they caught it and you could hear it plain as day.
All right, Tonya, how can folks stay in touch with you, book a night? How can they do all this stuff for the Old Hospital on College Hill? See, I got it right that time.
Yes, you did. Good job. I know it's a long title. There's several ways. We're pretty much on all social media that you could think of. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I'm probably more active on Instagram and Facebook than I am anywhere else. So they can message me that way. Or we have a website as well. It's collegehillhospital.com. So they can go on there. But they can also call and text. We have a telephone number. It's 304-953-0987. And you guys are more than welcome to call or text me anytime. And we don't have any booking online. We kind of just do it right now through us. Right now, we're kind of a small army. Me and Charlie do most of it. And we have 2 volunteers, Patty and Marianne, that really help us out. But we're hoping as this goes on, my goal and my dream is I can employ some people to help us, get it running full time and maybe get some people that might have lost their jobs to the coal mines or something like that, employ them and help get them back to work. So
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be a huge help because I'm just, I'm not as tech savvy as I should be, but when you're trying to do that and then bookings and keep up with social media and answer the phones and all that, it can be hard at times.
Oh yeah.
So,
try running 2 podcasts and doing interviews and posting the YouTube and editing and all that stuff.
Yeah, I would not be good at editing at all, but I do try. If people reach out to us or message us, it might take me a day or so to get back, but I always try to get back to everybody. I have a lot that email me, so I do check email pretty often. So.
Creepy, you got anything to add before we get out of here? We're gonna keep Tonya on here for a couple minutes after we announce.
Not really. Aside from folks in Eastern Kentucky, Williamson's just a hop, skip, and a jump away from y'all. Pike County, it's like 40 minutes away. There's no reason you can't make a day trip and go over there and hit up this place and take in the history and just kind of marvel in the presence of this building. I'm looking forward to going out there and checking it out myself.
You're coming with us when we go.
Yeah, I'll come on property.
Well, that's all I ask. That's all I ask. You come and you sit there at the base. That's all I ask. So,
okay, you got it.
we got a big announcement that we couldn't pass up, and this is something that's been on my bucket list for a good 15, 20 years. So we are Beyond the Paranormal Podcast. We'll be doing a live podcast from Pennhurst Asylum, July 15th.
Lousy.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
I'm very excited. I don't know how to contain myself right now. I just I feel like Marge Simpson on a plane, get off this plane running back and forth. That's what I feel like because of this. So this is something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and we're going to have a special guest that's going to be with us. He was on A&E Ghost Hunters, so he's going to be with us. So I will be sending out all these links and stuff like that. And we'll also be doing something with the old hospital at Williamson. I told you I screwed up.
Almost had it.
You had it, Williamson.
Yeah, that place. Tonya's place. That's where we'll be. We'll be doing a live podcast from there. Hopefully we'll work something up pretty soon here because we need to get something under our belts and get going.
Yeah, we love having our local community come out. And like she said, Eastern Kentucky, you're right out our back door. So we have a little bit of everything for everybody, whether you just want the historical side of it, the paranormal, or both. Then we also do some fun events for fundraisers certain times of the years, and then Halloween time we try to do some fun things for the kids and families and stuff. So we try to make it fun and interesting for everyone.
And photographers, if you want a really cool place, that's also hit her up. It's an awesome location.
Yep,
we do offer special photography tours. Just for them, we allow about 4 hours, and we don't hover over them. We do like a quick tour with them, take them through the hospital, and then we just kind of turn them loose and let them do their own thing because photography is an art, and I know it takes some time to do that, and we allow them to do the outside and the inside of the building. So we love some of the pictures that we got. I think some of the ones I sent you are from a photography tour that was sent to us, and
they're beautiful.
Unreal. They just take some really amazing pictures. I'm not talented in that area, so
All right, folks, join us next Tuesday. We'll have another awesome guest. I didn't check my schedule. I'm sorry. I was just too excited about this one.
Wah, wah.
So for a Critti Creep Show and our special guest, Miss Tonya Webb, the co-owner of the old hospital from Williamson, all that good stuff. I told you I screwed up again. But anyway, we will see. I'm getting tongue tied already.
We're so glad you were here,
Thank
Tonya.
you.
We're so glad.
Thank you both for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank everybody for listening.
Thank you for being on here. I truly appreciate it for sure.
No, I appreciate you guys. I couldn't do this without you all, and I appreciate you helping us get our name out there and getting even though it is hard to remember, I know it's a very long name, but we appreciate all the help that we can get because we are kind of the new kids on the block. So
no, so when I come over there, I'm just going to have a sign and just hold it up.
There you go. Old Hospital, College Hill.
We'll see you next Tuesday, folks.